Welcome to WizIQ AI. There is a relentless, almost terrifying rule that governs the entire history of human progress. We call it the law of unintended consequences. It states that every time we take a deliberate action to solve a problem, especially through invention, the results diverge drastically from what we actually intended. We like to treat technology as a pure cure, but the data shows it behaves more like a displacement engine. When we solve a problem, we rarely eliminate it. We usually just move it somewhere else, pushing it into the future, moving it across the globe, or shifting the burden onto a different group of people. As historian Edward Tenner observed, our society has become a patchwork of technological band-aids. We apply a technological fix, it leaves new, more complex problems in its wake, and then we are forced to invent another fix just to treat the side effects of the first. To see how deep this cycle goes, we need to track it from the inside out. We will start at the microscopic level of our own biology and expand outward until we reach the systems that threaten the planet itself. The most immediate consequences always start with the human body in mind. We invented packaged foods and refrigeration to eliminate local starvation and preserve perishables. But moving food processing into factories stripped away essential nutrients. Studies now link high ultra-processed food consumption to a 40% increased risk of type 2 diabetes and massive global obesity. Meanwhile, the refrigerants keeping that food cold leak out, releasing greenhouse gases with intense global warming potential. In the mid-20th century, antibiotics and vaccines began eradicating humanity's oldest killers. Yet the massive success of these medical miracles bred new vulnerabilities. Overprescribing antibiotics disrupted our natural gut microbiomes and forced bacteria to evolve into drug-resistant superbugs. And the very eradication of diseases like polio allowed modern vaccine complacency to take root. We developed medical imaging to look inside the body without invasive surgery, but the ionizing radiation required for CT scans and X-rays carries its own cancer risks, while the extreme sensitivity of these machines frequently leads to overdiagnosis, finding harmless anomalies that trigger intense patient anxiety and unnecessary treatments. Even our daily navigation comes with a biological cost. Turn-by-turn GPS cured the anxiety of getting lost, but researchers at McGill University discovered that people who rely heavily on GPS actually experience a physical decline in their hippocampus, the brain's internal map, triggering spatial memory loss over time. We built mental health apps that harvest our sensitive personal data. We installed artificial lighting to stay productive at night, which suppresses melatonin and destroys our circadian rhythms. We offload our memories to search engines, slowly eroding our own capacity for deep, critical thought. Through this constant outsourcing of biological and cognitive tasks, we have traded our internal resilience for a state of high-tech dependency. Stepping outside our biology, the next layer of this paradox surrounds us in our homes. Appliances like washing machines, vacuums, and air conditioners liberated households from grueling manual labor and dangerous heat. But that convenience demands a heavy toll. A single load of laundry can discharge up to 700,000 microplastic fibers straight into the ocean, while air conditioning units drive a massive portion of global electricity demand and urban heat island effects. We democratized consumer goods by inventing cheap, durable plastics and synthetic fabrics like polyester. Because these materials resist natural degradation, they have fueled a disposable fast fashion culture, blanketing shorelines in waste and embedding microplastics into the very drinking water we rely on. Inside the house, smart devices and voice assistants automated our lights and locks. To get this hands-free convenience, we willingly installed network entry points for hackers and gave corporations permanent, always-listening surveillance nodes in our most private spaces. The communication networks tying these homes together promised ultimate efficiency. Mobile phones and the internet effectively killed distance, but in doing so, they created a permanent pressure to be on, established a global infrastructure for identity theft, and built a frictionless highway for weaponized fake news. We layered social media, unlimited streaming, and video games over that infrastructure to keep us entertained and connected. Instead, these dopamine-driven algorithms fractured our attention spans, homogenized creative art, and sparked a global crisis of digital isolation, where heavy users report skyrocketing levels of anxiety and loneliness. The tools we engineered to make our lives friction-free and hyper-connected have in reality driven us apart and opened our private sanctuaries to systemic exploitation. But it is at the macro level, our global infrastructure and economy, where the law of unintended consequences becomes truly dangerous. The mass production of the automobile and the airplane granted humans absolute geographic freedom, but cars forced cities to physically spread out into unwalkable, gridlocked urban sprawl. The internal combustion engine now drives roughly a quarter of global CO2 emissions, and road accidents kill 1.35 million people every single year. In our factories and offices, industrial robotics and digital computing sent productivity skyrocketing. They also triggered waves of structural technological unemployment. When corporations replaced manual labor with machines and mainframes, they left millions of workers with obsolete skills, driving deep geographic and economic inequality. Now, artificial intelligence is automating cognitive labor. Machine learning models offer incredible predictive power, but their black box decisions perpetuate algorithmic bias in hiring and lending. Generative AI allows for rapid content creation, but it does so by scraping copyrighted human art and enabling the mass production of disinformation. We digitized finance to speed up transactions and remove physical barriers. Digital banking ended up excluding the elderly and the poor who lack internet access, while decentralized cryptocurrencies, originally built to eliminate bank fees, now consume more electricity than entire nations just to process highly volatile, fraud-ridden trades. To feed our booming population, we deployed synthetic fertilizers, industrial monocropping, and genetically modified organisms. This green revolution prevented mass starvation, but it also triggered the catastrophic depletion of global topsoil, poisoned waterways with chemical runoff, and handed total control of the world's seed supply to a few massive corporations. To power all this, we split the atom for zero-emission electricity. That gave us highly radioactive waste requiring thousands of years of secure storage, and the permanent scarring of regions like Chernobyl. Even clean renewables like solar and wind require vast amounts of land and environmentally destructive rare earth mining just to build the panels and batteries. Finally, we applied technology to our militaries. We built unmanned drones to protect pilots, which lowered the political threshold for engaging in war and increased civilian casualties. And we built nuclear weapons to deter major conflicts through mutually assured destruction, inadvertently giving ourselves the power to trigger human extinction by accident. On a global scale, our technological fixes have graduated from creating minor inconveniences to generating full-scale existential threats. Look at the pattern. The benefits of technology are always immediate, highly visible, and heavily celebrated. The devastating costs are almost always delayed, physically distant, or quietly shifted onto vulnerable populations and future generations. Technology functions as an amplifier, scaling up human capacity and human error with equal intensity. Every tool we build is a double-edged sword that cuts both ways. Breaking this cycle requires a shift toward anticipatory design, evaluating the 10, 20, and 50-year impacts of a tool before we deploy it. We need the humility to accept that we are dealing with highly complex systems, and we must stop frantically applying technological band-aids to every symptom we see. The 21st century's most critical innovation is the collective wisdom to realize that not every human problem requires a machine to solve it. Take a look at the screen you're watching this on. Ask yourself what problem it solved for you today, and what new problems it might be quietly creating for tomorrow. If you want to keep exploring the hidden systems that shape our world, subscribe to the WizIQ AI community,